Hello everyone, I'm so glad you've joined me today. We are going to talk about the software package Visio. Hopefully you have followed the directions that I shared with you and have installed it on your machine. And now it's time to actually open it up. So we're going to go down to the V's, it's in alphabetical order here in this program list, and find Visio and click that. And it'll open up the software, but it's going to want a product key. And if you go back to the website where you downloaded the software, if you go there, you will find the product key on the right hand side right here, and just click that copy right there and it'll copy it to your clipboard. And then you can take that information and paste it in this little blank right here. There, now I've copied and pasted the product key. And now we can open up Visio. We want to accept and start the software. These are all the different types of documentation and charts and graphs that you can create with Visio. But we're concerned with this one right here, which is a basic flowchart. We're going to use the basic flowchart to flowchart your actual programs, all right? So it shows the flow of how that program executes, all right? So it's an execution flowchart. So I clicked on that, and now it gives some examples of different kinds of flowcharts that you can create with using this Visio solution. So they have, different flowcharts. Different flowcharts come with different types of shapes. And so because of the flowchart we chose, we have specific shapes that are used when you create a flowchart for programming. So I went ahead and said create, and then now here's all the shapes we can use on the left hand side here. There are other shapes that we could click and find and use if we wanted to. But in our situation, we're going to just stick with these basic ones. They'll do the job of what we need. So this is called a start-stop symbol, right? So we're starting our program. It's where our program will start. Hang on, and jump down here a second. Let me bring it back up. Let me slide it over and then up. There we go. And while it's highlighted with the little dots around the outside edge, you can type in what you want it to say to label it. So it says start right now. So that's where our program actually starts. This shape is an input-output shape. So I'm going to put it right here. If I click while those dots are around it, now I can type in the label for this shape, right? So I'm going to type in input 2 numbers. I want my program to allow users to input 2 numbers. And of course, I wanted to say that the users will input 2 numbers because those 2 numbers could come from anywhere, right? A file or whatever. So I say input, users input 2 numbers. All right, so now what happens once they input the numbers? Well, we do a process because we have some math going on. So this symbol, the rectangle, is the process symbol, and it's used whenever your computer's processing data that you've entered. So here's our process symbol, and now I'm going to have to type in what the name of my process symbol is. Okay, so once I type that in, then, and of course, what will it be? Well, what is the process? I'm going to add 2 numbers together. So I'm going to add the 2 numbers that the users inputted, and then I'm going to get a result, right? Get a sum. All right, so that takes care of the process. So what do you think is next? If you're writing a program that adds 2 numbers and then lets the user know what those 2 numbers are, you're going to have an output symbol because you're going to output it to the screen. You could output it to a file as well. So, remember all your different outputs. We're going to type in here the name of this particular symbol, and it's going to say output the 2 numbers and, of course, the sum of those 2 numbers. So that's what we're going to output to the screen. You want to define, where you output it to. All right, so we've got all these little shapes here, but how do we know the flow? Which one comes first, second, third? What happens? in between, we don't know. So we need some kind of tool that allows us to connect these and show the flow. But before I do that, I'm going to put the end symbol here, because that symbol, that little oval, is a start and end symbol. So that's the end of my program there. All right, so how am I going to connect all these? Well, up here at the top is a connector button, and if I connect the start to the input symbol, if I do it in that order, the arrow will point that direction. So you want to click on where the arrow starts, and then the second click is where the arrow ends. So I've done that for each one of these connections. Start and then end. There, I end my arrow. And notice the flow, the arrows all pointing to the right, right? Because that's the way my program will flow. Okay, so now I put it back on pointer tool, and I'll be able to move these around if I want to. I can change their location. I can move it and make those arrows go with it. They actually follow. After I made that connection, they actually follow where I put it. So what if I decide that I want to move all this second half of the program down here because I want to add something. After they input, I want to check and make sure they input numbers and not letters, because I don't want to compare or try to add two letters together. So I'm doing a decision symbol. This little diamond is a decision symbol. And if the answer is no, it goes one direction. If the answer is yes, it goes another direction. And this decision symbol is asking, is the input numerical, right? That's the question. Is it numerical? So now that I've added that, we've got to decide, okay, if we go down, it would be yes. So I'm going to put a yes right here. And I click the text box at the top to let me add that. And then now I'm typing no here if it's not numerical, like they put in a B or an A, right? Okay, so I'm clicking on the connection tool. I still want to connect the input symbol to the decision symbol, and I want to connect this decision symbol to the process symbol where the math is done. And notice if they enter two numbers, it goes down to process, right? The yes. And I'm going to move this yes right here where it's a little more clear that that's yes, it's numerical. And this over here, this is no. So if they did not enter a number, then we know that what will happen? We have to think about it. What will happen if they enter the letter B or a K or whatever, right? What do we want to happen? We could have it just end the program and nothing happen. We could give them a message, an output message. You know, it's up to us. What will we do? So I'm going to put an output here, and I'm going to put please, you did not enter two numerical values, or whatever your message, whatever you want to tell the user, right? Because you're doing an output here. All right, so now I've notified the user, you're not playing fair. You're not doing what I said. So then I'm doing my connector, and notice it matters what direction, which one you click first, and then a connector on the stop. And now, so if they enter a letter instead of a number, it'll let them know and then end the program. All right, so we got start. They enter two numbers. Here's the if statement is next. If it's numerical, then yeah, we go ahead and do the math. If it's not numerical, it ends the program. Okay? Does that make sense? So you can see there's a branch here that the program will take. And so now you know most of the key symbols, which is a start and stop symbol, a decision symbol, input-output symbol, and the process symbol. And you use those to show how your program will work, what it does first, second, third, how it makes a decision. You can even use it for loops and use your arrows to indicate it will loop around. And then, of course, your counter will determine whether the loop ended or not. So you'd have a decision. All right, that's the end.